You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 3 and Episode 115 of the Daily Beaver here on the Crier Media Network. Today, recording day is Monday, May 8th, 2023, and it will be a sunny day here at the Beaver Lodge. Yes, I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And with me, as always, is my dear friend, Mr. Grizzly. And of course, it's a wonderful sunny day, which means it will be perfect for having my butt gift wrapped and handed back to me at tennis today because I'm playing my friend Christian, who usually whoops me pretty darn good. But he's a nice guy, so I let it happen. Of course, a big thank you goes to our podcast's founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. We have a Monday morning, maybe a bite for you. We usually do have that on Mondays, but before we do that, we have to say hello to this podcast's fine and furry friend. Good morning, Mr. Grizzly. How's your mental health today?
Well, good morning, Mr. Beaver. I am not fully awake.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm just really slow getting into the saddle this morning. Up at the usual time, 5, and got up, rolled out of bed, and realized, I didn't do the write-up last night because I was super tired when I went to bed last night. It was a super busy weekend. I had a wonderful weekend. I was away in Saratoga Springs.
Yes, I saw the photo.
Yeah, we were, me and a buddy went down, and Saratoga Springs is a beautiful little town. They call it a city. It's 29,000. That's a town to me. And I would think by New York state standards, that would be a town too, but apparently it isn't. I don't know. But anyway, beautiful place. It's horse racing is the claim to fame for Saratoga. And you might remember the song You're So Vain by Carly Simon, where the line she delivers is, you went up to Saratoga and your horse naturally won. Well, that's what she was singing about.
Okay.
They have 4 horse racing tracks in that town. 4.
Wow.
Yeah. It's quite famous for horse racing. So, we met some wonderful people and definitely saw the contrast. How do I say this in the kindest, most polite manner? The contrast between the haves and the have-nots. it glares in your face. The route we took there versus the route we took back. The route we took there was back roads, back country roads, because it was like 85 or no 100 kilometers less, but it turned out to be basically the same time frame. But an interesting drive down. We took the interstate back, Interstate 87 up to Montreal, and then that way because it same time frame and less twisty, winding roads where people were crossing the yellow line constantly, and we almost got sideswiped in not a twisting, winding road. It was there was just some strangeness there, but we did experience the haves and the have-not sides of the American capitalist culture. And it was a stark reminder. And we could I don't want to get too political here about it, but we all have, and we take for granted sometimes our public healthcare system, and we complain about it. We have the right to complain about it. We pay for it, so if it's not up to standards, we can do our best to try and improve that. But when you go through places where you can see people clearly do not have health insurance. They do not have healthcare coverage. It's reflected in just the people, and I'll leave it at that. I don't want to pick it apart too much. But when we got to Saratoga, it's a moneyed town, a very wealthy town. I don't think there's anything below upper middle class there, and it's noticeable. It's noticeable in the houses, the automobiles, the people, the way they dress, the way they walk, the way they talk, it was a noticeable difference. And, we had a nice philosophical chat about it on the way home about how money doesn't buy happiness. It can't make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
It can, however, reduce outside stressors on your life, and it's reflected in your persona, if that makes any sense. And it was a sobering reminder of how lucky we are to live here in this country. And I'm not kidding when I say that. And I know I am, I'm working class, but if I get sick, I'm not too concerned. Right. And it was a noticeable contrast. But now let's take that aside, pack that away for now, and talk about how much of a beautiful town it is. Wonderful, friendly people. And the spectacular performance of Connie Han was just mind-blowingly good. And of course, we did get a meet and greet afterwards. So I had spoke to her drummer Bill, and he's like, "Yeah, just reach out, send me an email. We'll set up an interview time, and we'll have a Zoom call." And I'm like, "Perfect," because I'd really like to dive into it it'll be for the jazz podcast, but I think we could get her on this show because this show still deals with general culture. So
Absolutely.
And of course you do have this photo of me with Miss Han.
Both of you looking fierce.
She
Both of you working, making love to the camera with your eyes.
She's a rock star. She walks out in probably 6-inch platformed heels, and she had literally spikes on her shoes. Looking Joan Jett-like with both her hair and her style, like very rock and roll. And Bill, her drummer, was saying how the record company doesn't know how to deal with her because she is 100% her own person. She
they did with Vanessa May.
Exactly. Like
they do with the Lindsay, what's her name there, who plays the violin and makes all those I can't remember. It'll come to me.
Well, they get upset because they're like, she doesn't fit in any sort of traditional mold for them. And her drummer, Bill, who's also her producer and helps her compose, he goes, "I love it because they can't deal with it."
Yeah. Lindsay Sterling, that's what I was thinking of.
And she does her own thing. And my buddy who came with me, he'd never been to a jazz show before. And I said, "I think you'd be blown away." And by the end of the night, he's like, "Dude, I'm a fan now." Like, this woman, at one point, she's playing these bass lines, right? With her left hand is like, and the other hand is just going crazy on the keyboard. He's like, and he looks at me with this shocked look on his face, and I go, "That's jazz, baby. That's jazz."
That's jazz. Yep. That's why once you find some jazz you connect with, because you can't connect with every type of jazz, because some of them are out there, some of them are more experimental, some of them are, but once you find your groove, you're hooked.
Oh yeah.
You just got to keep listening to something until you find what's your vibe.
Exactly. And once you find it, and I was out for a drink last night with a lady friend, and she was like, "So what would you qualify?" And I go, well, mostly hard bop, but she does her own thing at the same time. So it's hard to really put her in a category because she does a little bit of fusion type stuff. She does some experimental. She does some very McCoy Tyner classically related hard bop jazz.
Mm-hmm.
She does her own thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a great talent. And her drummer, Bill Wisniewski, he's the drummer producer, and he's connected to Canada because his mother is from Montreal originally.
Okay.
So, you know, he's like, oh yeah, I come to Canada all the time. I'm like, cool, you guys got to come. I'm trying to convince them to play the Ottawa Jazz Fest.
Yeah.
Maybe next year, because the lineup is set for this year. Maybe next year, we'll see. But
well, you never know. Somebody sometimes pulls out. You know,
that's true.
You put your name in and say, if you need someone, call us up.
And that does happen. Happen. But he looks like he's. I'll show you a picture of him. He looks like he's out of Leonard Skinner. And he's a. Oh yeah, wait here. I'll put the picture up. Give me a sec. And
cool.
no, that's not it.
I like the mixing of genres like that. You know, I have some albums. I have a rhythm. There was a, you know, the people who did Red Hot and Blue, that series. They did one called Rhythm, Country, and Blues, and that's just so good. It was just country and rhythm and blues, and so I like it when you mix genres like that.
So this guy is the jazz drummer, Bill Wisniewski, real nice guy, and it's like, is that Leonard Skinner? Like,
yeah, really. Wow, how cool is that?
Oh yeah. So you know, I did shoot a little bit of footage. I'll show you a quick clip, a very quick clip, and then we'll get into it. Find it here. Is this it? I think this is it. Yeah, it's trying to load. It's just a little slow. My processor. Okay, we'll deal with that.
All right. Okay. Well, on my end, I had a bit of a musical weekend of my own.
Oh yeah,
mysteriously, yes. Well, this week, the choir with which I sing, Mellows Choir, and period instruments. We had our concert this weekend at St. John's the Apostle Church. Sorry, some of these photos did not translate to regular size here for some reason. And it went really, really, really well. So you see, we have period instruments. We have a santur. We have boots to go along with the typical recorders and strings and harpsichord. This is our cellist who also plays with the Kingston Symphony Orchestra. We have like 5 or 6 of our instrumentalists who come from the Kingston Symphony Orchestra as well. So, you know, very quality. Great audience. That's as they were coming in. So that's only about like half full at the moment. And of course, the hair on point.
Yes, of course.
Made sure I gave myself some curls there. That's with my beaver sweetie right there before the show. A little warm up. And that's our choir director, Holly Gwen Timothy, who I keep on trying to have on the show, but she's just so incredibly busy.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we had our concert, and it went really, really, really well. And our theme was a sort of like an Eats Meets West. So we had a lot of people of Persian heritage and Arab heritage and Turkish heritage in the crowd. And we sang, you know, traditional German, all that kind of stuff, but we did sing one song with Persian lyrics and one song with Turkish lyrics. And the last song we sang was in a 10/8 time signature, which I've never heard before. I don't even know how you conduct 10/8.
Yeah.
It was really crazy.
That's some Dave Brubeck stuff right there. I'll tell you what.
But it was so much fun to sing. The Turkish stuff, the sounds like, na, 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 na. You know, you got to do that thing with your voice like this. And then when you get low, you know, we're just like really going low. And then
Did you have any whirling dervishes there?
No whirling dervishes, unfortunately. But the last song we did was this Turkish song. And when we ended, like the last note, it took 0.2 seconds for everyone to get up. Applause, standing ovation that lasted a minute and a half. Minute and a half.
That's never a long time for a lot of fellas. You know?
Yes. The Minutemen. But that was the longest applause I have ever been at the receiving end of in my entire life. And it's,
cool.
You know, like 15 seconds, oh, thank you. 30 seconds. Oh, wow. 45 seconds. Okay. A minute. Oh, wow. Okay. Too much. A minute 15. Oh my God, you gotta make me cry. A minute and a half. I was like, oh, you guys are just so loving. So much love. So much love in that audience. It's just,
Cool. Very cool.
when you make an effort,
Mm-hmm.
there's the difference between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation, and you make
There
an
is a
effort.
difference. Yes.
So
Yeah.
we invited them into our home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was in a church.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the after party afterwards, right? And like a lot of people were talking about, we didn't know at first whether or not we could come in, because apparently in Muslim culture, you can't just walk off the street and go into a temple. But people from other
Oh,
religions, if they walk into a church, if they walk on the street and they go to a church and the door's open, you can come in and take a look,
yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like, oh, the concerts go, can we come? It's like, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course you can come. So it's like they came into our home like this, and and some of their musicians played with us, and then they came to see, and then they came to the after party, and it was just this beautiful thing like this. So you had like people just, Turkish, Arab, Persian,
Cool.
Caucasian, all together, and just like
Everybody getting along in
everybody getting
the spirit
along
of
and
music,
sharing
right?
about music and having food and drinks after, and just it was just a beautiful night. The after party went to almost 2.
Oh wow. Wow.
I don't know what it is, but you have these images of classical musicians. They can party.
Oh, of course they can.
That's
They're
all I will say.
musicians, dude. They're musicians. Don't let it. You think it's all stuff. They're still musicians,
Yeah.
Even classical musicians had to work their dive bar sort of period, right, before they get to a place where they don't have to do that anymore. So that grunge spirit never leaves, never.
Mhm. So it was a beautiful weekend. I had a great time. But the thing I'm happiest most about at the moment is
Mhm.
that now I'm only working on one show at a time instead
So
of
you can
3.
breathe a little bit easier. Yeah, yeah.
I am so exhausted.
Well, you went from 3 years ago, nothing, and now you're
Right.
running a marathon every day. It's like, hang on, let's. You're supposed to work your way up to the marathon, not just start doing it.
The last 3 weeks have been so. I'm going to a sleep lab on
Oh
Tuesday
yeah,
night,
I've
and I
done
have
that
to
before.
present my sleep diary, and
Yeah.
it is horrible.
Oh yeah.
For the
Don't
last
even
2
get me
weeks, because I've
started.
just been running from town to town and, getting adrenaline shots and, from, anyway, it went, it was the most fun I've ever had at a choral performance in my entire life. And I've been seeing their shows for 10 years, and each one of them just keeps on getting better than the previous one. So I've been having
Oh,
a
cool.
lot of fun at choral shows over the past decade. But this audience in particular was special.
Mhm. That's cool.
And you just get that every now and then. Even in a theater run, like you could do like 12 shows, and there was
Mhm.
that one night, that second Thursday, where those people, they just laughed a little extra harder and they seemed to be with you. It's like that audience was special.
Yeah,
You get that every now and then.
I know what you're saying. Sometimes there's just like God, I hate saying this because I think it sounds so lame, but there's a vibe. It's in the
Yeah.
air. Like there's an electricity in the air, and
Yeah.
everybody is plugged into it.
And you
And
feel it.
when that happens, it's special. It
Oh
really
yeah.
is.
The performers just take that and just ride that wave.
Yeah.
They just grab it. So that's why when you're in an
Absolutely.
audience, it's like you could be in 1,000. If it's just you, just give.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
like whatever it is, that you just sit there, open heart, and just give, and you'll see if everybody, like, or most of the people do that, the artists will start to feel that, and then the show just gets so much better.
Well, love them, hate them, judge them. I don't care. Gene Simmons from Kiss fame has always said, whether there's 10 people, 10,000, or 100,000, play like the room is full.
Mm-hmm.
You'll always give it 100% your all. He says, play to, no matter how big or how small the crowd is, play your heart out every time. And people pick up on that. People can
Mm-hmm.
pick up on the fact that you want to be there. You want to be doing what you're doing and that you love it. And you know what? It grows from there. Your love of your art and your expression of that love of your art, people pick up on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll grow with you, man. It happens. It works.
Yeah.
It's real. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks to all the kids who were sending me some love live as we were warming up and all that, and say, no, you can do it and have a great show and all that kind of stuff. So your vibes worked. So there you go.
Cool.
While we're at it, let's say hello to some kids. Good morning,
Yeah.
Kit Jillian, Kit Linda M, Kit Elaine, Kit Christian. Bon matin, mon chum. Ah, bon matin, mon pote. Kit Grappling, Kit Ellen, and Kit Elaine's has some news. Said her son got back from Florida on Saturday, so they got to have some walks, which is
Cool.
good. Now, her muscles are screaming, but that's okay.
Takes
That's
time.
okay.
Remember,
Better
you
that than
work
the
your way
opposite.
up to the marathon. You don't start running a marathon right
Yeah.
away. That's not
But-
good.
But better to have your muscles screaming at you than ignoring you. That's all I'll
Yes.
say.
Yeah, there's the other side of that coin. Oh, look what I picked up. Stopped off at Plattsburgh, New York for a bite to eat on the way home. And my buddy says, hey, we can stop at the Walmart Supercenter around the corner. They have.
Ooh, Guinness Zero.
So he bought the last 4-pack that the Walmart had. And I'm like, oh. So we just pull out our phones and Google places near me that have Guinness there. Oh, there's this place just down the street called Lakeshore Beverage. Well, let's go there. So sure enough, yeah, they had, we bought out everything they had.
All right.
So we get to the border, anything to declare, and we go, well, we bought some Guinness Zero, non-alcoholic. And they're like, she just smiled, nodded, and said, go along your way. It's not alcohol.
Right.
Now, they increase the amount you can bring back.
Yes.
But this is like, effectively, this is no different than Coca-Cola, with the exception that, that there's a lot less sugar in this.
Yeah. Also, you have to say good morning to Kit Saucy, to Kit Jen, to Kit Miss Sadeka. And Miss Sadeka says, Douglas, pink is a fabulous color on you. And speaking of pink, look what arrived in the mail.
Oh, something. We don't know
Yes.
what it is yet.
So let's find out.
You're gonna
This
open
is
it on
my
there?
first official YouTube unwrapping.
Letters. We get letters. Should we have some letter opening music? I don't have any. I'll
yes.
prepare it for next time. Girl from Ipanema?
It's my only hold music that I know.
Oh, okay. Little bossa nova grooves.
Okay, so we have opened the package. We have emptied the contents. And, let's start with, a curling pin from the Briar.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, wow. Yeah, cool.
Thank you so very much.
Very
I
cool.
love this.
Official CTV pin.
Yes. Then a little thing that says, Grace changes everything.
It does.
Which I actually do agree.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in that. Let's see. What else? What do we have? Oh. Just breathe.
Just breathe.
Also, very, very, very important.
Something I always say on my show, ASMR show, just breathe. Remember.
Now this one I like.
Throw kindness around like confetti. Ooh, I like that.
Mm-hmm. Confetti or glitter.
That would be a good tattoo.
Yeah. Okay. And now, I was told that there was something
from Mateo?
From their daughter.
Oh, okay. Okay.
For us. So let's see. Oh, wow. Okay. There is some talent here. Hold on.
Drop it down. Oh, wow. How old is she?
I do have no idea, but that is some talent.
Yeah, that's some skill. Take it from one artist to another. I actually am a sketch artist, believe it or not.
Yeah. That's some wonderful talent.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that that's us. Because it's written sillies. With an arrow pointing to each of them.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
And right. Of course, we have a little letter, which I hope I'm allowed to read because I haven't read it first, so I'm reading it now.
So maybe read it quickly before you read it on the air. Do you think?
Maybe well, I'll edit as I go if required.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Beaver. Hope this package finds its way to you. Well, it has. And now it's on YouTube, so you know what happened. My middle child made a little something at my request because I simply cannot draw or sketch very well. I'm an excellent writer and singer, though. Yes, we have heard that. Thanks to you and Mr. Grizzly, my mornings have been better. I too suffer from clinical depression, half for years, going on about 25 years, and some days are harder than others. But your voices and personalities and interactions have made some of the hard days so much better. Thank you both for being you. Sincerely.
I feel that.
Miss Sadeka.
Thank you. Glad we could help. I might need a moment here. I am, I'm supposed to be a big, tough, old, green, mean grizzly bear, but I am an emotional human being. I still have feelings. Come on. I mean, our mandate here is to help as many people as we can. Get the truth out there. And since we've said from the beginning, it's facts first, truth first, and sometimes the truth is not polite and not nice, but that's how it is. But we always want to be helpful and serve our community and the broader community, which is every single Canadian. If we can reach as many people as possible to let them know that, we're here, we're going through the same things you are, and we're going to try and support you whenever way we can. But we want to get you the true facts because truth helps, and it's the greatest disinfectant, right? So we can connect with that. And hey, look, shameless self-promotion. ASMR show tonight at 9:30. If anybody wants to tune in, I'll be talking about my mental health and methods to improve upon yours. If they work for you, great. I'll tell you what works for me, and we can go from there.
So thank you to everyone in the family, Ms. Sadeka, Mohan, Mateo, Rain. I was debating whether or not to say say Rain's name, but I just remembered that we already say hello to Mateo. So
yes.
Rain, thank you so very much.
Cool last name too.
Yeah, I know. I love that.
Has it RAINE or
yes?
RAI? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Gorgeous name. I love the drawing, and I love the gifts, and the pin is going on to my curling jacket. So thanks. Really appreciate it.
Cool. Well, yeah, and
I didn't have
everybody has a curling jacket or a curling vest with all the pins on it that you wear, not while you're playing, obviously, because some of those vests can get up to 40, 50 pounds with all the pins on them. Like they get heavy.
Yep, they do. But
that's the thing at a Briar is to exchange pins too, right?
Yeah. And if you don't have the stoppers in back when somebody comes to give you a hug, you feel it. Instant acupuncture. Yeah, you got to put the little rubber stoppers on the back. Learned that one the hard way.
You think,
Life lessons learned the hard way by the Eager Beaver. Mr. Grizzly, do we have some news? Do you have anything to start us off with?
You know what? Ordinarily I do. And this morning I'm not so, I really am groggy as can be this morning. I think the only thing I had was I wanted to show some video from the concert on the weekend, but because it seems to be dragging my computer down like a lead anchor, I'm not going to do that because I don't want the system to crash.
Okay.
So that was the only thing I really had this morning was to share that because it was, I was virtually unplugged until last night. So I had no idea about the shooting that went on in Texas or the truck roll that went on.
Or the truck roll.
Yeah. I didn't know about any of that until last night. So,
well, neither did I. And the shooting, I think I'd heard. The truck roll, I didn't. Yeah. And we got back from rehearsal last night and I was just preparing some stuff for today. And it was the first thing on my Twitter feed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course, like the videos just start automatically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just like turned on my computer and the first thing I saw was 7 people. I didn't know what I didn't know what I was seeing. Nothing. That's all I saw. I just saw 7 people just taken within 20 seconds of like turning on my computer. There's like 7 people being taken out. It was the first thing my eyes saw.
Yeah. Well,
what the hell?
The whole time we were down there, we were like literally. That thought was always in the back of our minds that, that could happen because it does frequently all over the country. But there was a few things that we sort of had a peace of mind about. It's like, well, New York State has very strict gun control laws, number one. Number two, Saratoga Springs, again, is a very wealthy city. And it has incredibly low crime because, when people have the money they need to afford to live a comfortable life and, have healthcare, they tend not to do criming-like things because they're not pushed to those desperate, and that's what it is. You marginalize people, you push them to the outer edges of society, and they get desperate because hunger creates desperation. We could fix a lot of things in this world if we did away with money altogether. It's not going to happen in our lifetime. It will happen someday, though, because they're either going to have to accept the fact that everybody gets a universal basic income that is livable because
nobody has any.
The robots are coming for our jobs, right? Or how do you generate income if you can't get a job? So anyway, that's a larger philosophical question for another day, but you know where I've gone down the rabbit hole on that one. And
yeah,
it's very realistic, but you do see the difference that, people say, well, we don't have much crime here. I'm like, that's because everybody has enough money to live.
Mm-hmm.
People do criminal things.
I mean,
not for fun. It's what's always at the heart of it. Always.
There's always usually money, some need. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, when we're talking about, like, for example, you got PP going all around going, crime has never been higher than under Trudeau. Well, yeah,
it's not actually even true.
Yeah, but crime is, well, even if it were, let's say.
Yes.
Right? We have addictions problems because provinces have not invested the money they've received from the federal government in the services that would help people. We've got homelessness because the provinces have decided not to spend the money on health. They have other priorities, like making sure that oil companies don't have to clean up their orphaned or abandoned wells, for example. Right?
Yes.
Or making sure that you bulldoze science in order to make room for a spa.
Yeah.
But when you're getting the money and you're not spending it on that on which it's supposed to be spent, and then you have addictions and you have mental health issues and you have homelessness, and then all of a sudden you've got tons of people in a Jean Valjean situation, stealing a loaf of bread to feed their family.
And that's what it boils down to.
Holding up some 16-year-old gas station attendant who's working for minimum wage so you could get $40 for your next hit.
Yeah.
And it's not because you're a bad person.
No.
It's not because you're immoral. It's because you have something that's got their hooks right into you.
And you've been marginalized, pushed to the edge of society, and desperate times call for desperate measures. And that's what happens. The root cause of crime is poverty, period. Are there always going to be those fringe elements of society that, like serial killers as an example? I know that's not really breakfast fodder, but
when psychopaths and sociopaths, there are some. It takes all kinds to make a world, but it is not the overwhelming majority of people who are committing petty crimes.
It's not. It's people. Why do people sell drugs? Money. It's money. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And,
I was once friends with someone, very best friends, at some point in their life, unbeknownst to me, decided that getting into the drug trade was going to be a career option. And I'll tell you one thing. It's not that they're not hardworking or entrepreneurial.
Right. Yeah.
They keep very long hours. My friend at one point had absolutely no time to spend any time with me because he was always working or always had to be available for work. The last 5 years of our friendship, I think once I was in a play that was literally 60 feet from his front door and he never made it once in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, they've got transferable skills. Let's just put it that way. They do.
It's absolutely true. Well, here, Miss. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, I just have problems when you're not, as governments, you're not putting the money where it was supposed to be dedicated, and then you say we have problems. Well, duh.
You think those problems would go away if Skippy got into power? Because I can guarantee you they'd get worse, because all he'd do is imprison people who need help.
Yeah.
He'd cut social programs to the bone. If he could get rid of them altogether, he would, because what was his yearbook statement? The current issue is the welfare state. I'm like, what? he's a terrible human being, and I'm going to leave it at that. I've had people I know who've met him said, "Oh, he's so warm and personable in person." I go, "Well, he certainly doesn't come across that way in a press conference or on television." And and here's what my friend did say. She says, "He's warm and personable in person. He's an evil, vile human being." So she was not fooled by his snake oil salesman pitch.
Yeah. I can see that. All right. I can't stand the guy.
Yeah.
I just can't. I just can't. Don't get me started on him. But since we're talking about that issue, in the Alberta election, and we've been talking about it with PP too, because he's not saying exactly how it is when he says treatment. No safe supply, no safe injection, safe consumption, treatment. We'll get them into treatment. Well, in the Alberta election, they're talking about that as well. And it seems that they're not talking about voluntary treatment, but they're talking about forcing people into treatment, which is illegal and unconstitutional and all that good stuff.
Human rights violations. Yeah.
But apparently that's the talk going on right now.
And they'll justify it by saying,
pardon?
This is how we can help. They'll justify it but we can help people this way by putting them into these centers. I go, yeah, but then you start to decide that maybe that person over there, well, we should treat them as well because you don't like what they're saying, not because they have a problem with addiction, right?
You got exactly where I'm going. Hello, conversion therapy.
Slippery slope. Yep. Exactly what it is.
And these people, I mean, they already have a problem with drag queens and transgender, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in the United States, they're changing the laws again. They're going back like to the pre-60s. If you are not wearing clothes that reflect the biological gender you were assigned at birth, then therefore you must be a drag queen, and therefore we can arrest you. Well, that works out well for transgender people, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Who are not drag queens.
Yeah.
There's a difference between a drag queen and a cross-dresser and a transgender person.
Yes.
On the outside, it sometimes looks the same, but they come from different places and they are different things.
What was it? What's the old saying there used to be a term, and it's escaping me right now. Ed Wood was a cross-dresser, but they didn't call it cross-dressing then. He said he was a not gender, trans. I'm drawing a blank.
Sexual?
Can't remember the word. Drawing a blank. I'll have to look it up now because it's going to drive me crazy.
Okay. So yeah, they are talking about forced treatment, and that's a little transvestite.
Thank you, transvestite.
Yes, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yes, transvestite. Exactly.
I just completely drawn a blank there.
Yeah. I don't like the concept of forced treatment, period. And I certainly don't like it in the mouths of Daniel Smiths and Pierre Poilievre's. It's like that provokes an instant shudder and shiver up and down my spine.
So I'm just reading here, sorry, just to add to it. It says the word transvestite has undergone several changes of meaning since it was first coined and is still used in a variety of senses. Today, the term transvestite is commonly considered outdated and derogatory, with the term cross-dresser used as a more appropriate replacement. So this is, things we learn. Because I hadn't heard that term in a long time. The cross-dressing thing or gender fluid, I think, is often used. Gender fluid or non-binary.
Yeah, that's the more.
Yeah. Non-binary is. I don't even fully understand it. Yeah, it's more modern, but it's the same.
Non-binary means that I'm not either male or female.
Right.
Just I'm something. Anywhere else on the spectrum.
And somebody said, "Well, there's only two genders," and I'm like, "That's not true." I remember somebody was saying that, and my mother, of all people, said, "That's not true. Intersex people are a third gender." And they looked at me, and I was like, "Yes, Mom, learning." Yeah. Intersex used to be referred to as hermaphroditism.
Yeah, and then if you move to the animal kingdom, I mean, you have frogs. Like, for example, if there are too many of one gender,
They can literally
change
flip.
their gender. There are other animals. Seahorses, I think it's the male who carry the babies. Right?
Yes.
I mean, these things exist in nature. I was listening to this scientific person that says, it's binary. It says, yeah, well, the world, I think 90% and 98% of the chemicals in the world are oxygen and hydrogen.
Mm.
Doesn't mean you ignore aluminum.
You do so at your own peril.
Or lithium or helium or mercury or right. It's like, the other ones do have, they may not be as abundant and plentiful as the other two, but it doesn't mean that they don't exist and that they're not important and pretty vital to the whole functioning of the entire world. So there may not be a lot of transgender people or gay people in your opinion, but it doesn't mean that we're not here, and it doesn't mean that we're not vital to making the world work, because hey, somebody's got to do your hair. Somebody's got to tell you that outfit don't work for you. And somebody's got to deliver the news with a little bit of sass.
Would that be you?
Shameless self-promotion? Me?
Yes.
Me? Shamelessly self-promoting myself? No, never. I would never, ever.
Never happen. No, never. It's never ever going to happen.
I would never do anything. Totally not my personality.
Speaking of crowns, I did watch a couple of minutes of that thing Saturday morning.
I did too. I have to say it was interesting.
So he's sitting there and he's got this gold wrap on him and he's got a staff and I think a mace in one hand. And I'm like, this is weird, right? I'm like, this whole spectacle is weird. I'm like, I was watching it and I was uncomfortable watching it. Like I was sort of, lying on the couch and I'd look up on the TV while I'm scrolling through stuff on my phone and reading on my phone. I'd look up and I'm like, yeah, that shit's weird. I'm out.
I watched some. I woke up late, didn't wake up in time for it, but I caught the end. The choral music was absolutely fantastic, but maybe it's because I was singing in a choral concert later that evening. My ear was kind of attuned to it. You know what? There's pomp, there's pageantry, there's ceremony. It's a feast for the eyes. They had the big gold carriage at the end and all that kind of stuff. I was interested in it historically. So while I was watching it, because we've never seen a coronation, so I'm thinking, okay, well, this is an interesting historical event. Okay, that's going on. That's kind of cool. And at the same time, it was all kind of weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At the same time,
weird.
So when they brought out the three little panels for him to get behind to sort of apparently to get out of some robes and get to the other, but get into some other, but they started taking out some robes before he actually went behind the screen. It's like, okay, wait a minute, and then he touched, I just noticed silly things like he touched the ring, and it's like I noticed that his fingernails were super well manicured, but they weren't particularly nice.
He had the sausage fingers going on too.
Right, and then of course there was the moment of the crowning itself, and then Camilla got crowned. She's like, doing this thing where she's like making sure that her hair is like, and I'm thinking, are you supposed to be doing that? I don't know what the protocols are, right? It just seems to be. And then she got up and they're singing this song called Make a Joyful Noise, which was a new song that Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote, based on Psalm 103, which I actually liked that song. I thought it was actually kind of, it was nice. Like, na 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 na. It was nice. And then there was a moment where she comes in, because I guess the queen comes and curtsies before her king. And he was giving her a look. A couple of moments earlier, they handed Camilla, I think it was called the Rod of Equity and Mercy. And I don't think, based on that look, that was the only appearance that rod made that day.
Equity and mercy.
I'm just saying. As soon as they handed her the rod of equity and mercy, I was like, oh, God, the things I could say.
Yeah, I'm biting my tongue right now. Biting my tongue. It is a morning show.
Oh, the things they say. The things tradition makes us say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm biting my tongue.
Now, I know that there's a lot of people that are not interested in all that kind of stuff, and I get it, right? Like you said, for me, it was more curiosity in history. But I do want to
I
show
like the
two
car
pictures. I do want to show two pictures because this is a political show. We're talking about Canadian politics. I have two assets. The first is our always elegant Governor General and her spouse as they're
Mary
arriving.
Simon, yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
How is
yeah.
that for some regalia? That's gorgeous.
I love his vest too. Or
Yeah.
what do they say in the UK? Waistcoat. He has a lovely
Yes.
waistcoat.
Yes, tartan waistcoat. And I just look at all the intricacy.
hmm hmm
In the
Well, I
fur.
like that. She's kind of like, it's sort of a little bit of shade at the same time, right? For
At
the
the same
regalia,
time, right?
you know?
Yeah. She's got the gloves.
She's like, "Hi, I'm your representative in Canada. Check this out, bitch." You know, like,
Watch me work.
yeah.
And then, hello.
Oh, wow.
That's the prime minister's wife. Okay,
Damn, look
now
at those shoes.
look at first of all, look at those shoes. Look how high
Mhm.
those heels are.
Yeah.
And look what the bend in the foot there. That's gotta hurt after a
That's a
while.
4-inch heel for sure, right, ladies? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
4-inch, maybe 3, but it's either way, it's tall.
Okay, clutch, effortless walk.
Mhm.
Look at the face, the feet.
Mhm.
And look at it is not easy to wear a hat like that and make it look somewhat classy and elegant.
Is that a fascinator? Would you call that a fascinator? Or?
I think so. She is looking, he is looking, And of course, what everybody decided to focus on is the fact that she was on the outside,
Oh, for Christ's sake.
like most everybody else as well. If you saw some pictures, they just did what the people in front of them were doing.
Well, they didn't say it about anybody else, but they did for him, right? Because
Right, because
he
just
cannot
because.
win. He cannot win with some people,
Yeah.
It's like he
So
can't have a good moment.
no. So I mean, I posted a whole bunch of other pictures on the feed and whatnot if you want to see, because I just grabbed screen caps from the show and the show, the broadcast. The show. I mean, it was a show, but yep, we did good. PP wasn't there, of course. Now I don't know if he was not invited or made sure he couldn't be there by not getting his security clearance, or
Who knows?
who knows? But yes, the leader of His Majesty's loyal official opposition decided he would not show,
We'll see if he
would make it such that he could not show.
if he went, he'd find a reason to say it was a good thing. But not going, he can throw shade at everybody, and he's going to come back with a $5,000 or $6,000 hotel, and that number I hear every now and then goes up to $8,000. It's like, look, man, yeah, obviously hate the man, that's fine, but at least get your hate facts straight. You can't even keep a straight story. Come on,
Yeah, I know, man.
It's ridiculous.
Just these people I'm getting convinced that their goal is just to exhaust us.
I don't think you're wrong. I think that's very much what it is. It's like, just wear us down, grind us down until there's nothing left. And hopefully,
that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
You want the space? You got it. Have it. We don't care.
Could very well be the case.
Because I mean, just.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. We won't let up. As exhausting as it is, and as fatigued as I feel about it from time to time, I'm not going to let up. Not going to stop. Not going to walk away. Not going to abandon. Not going to have dereliction of duty. It is my duty to please that booty. No, that's not how the saying goes. How's the saying goes? It's my duty as a.
He's a real cutie with a nice tight booty.
And I was talking to a friend about this last night. I said, it is my duty as a cisgendered, het, privileged white male to stand up for those who can't, or don't, help bring representation for those who don't have any, and insist on representation for those who don't have any. That's my duty, because I didn't ask for this. I was born into it. So let's do something good with it. And instead of yelling and pointing and saying, those people over there are drug addicted, no, let's get them into a program. Let's help them out. Let's help them get back out on the street. Let's make sure there is a clean supply, because they're still going to use you're not going to make it go away. Even if somebody gets clean and sober, there's somebody else that needs that escape. And who am I to judge why they're doing it? It's to each their own when it comes to that. But let's decriminalize it. Let's make it so that people can get the help they need, because my goodness, people need help. And I mean, as I witnessed on the weekend, it like very much in my face. As you travel through some of the rural, small towns and backwoods villages, you see the poverty, and it is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Indeed.
I got to grab some more coffee, so keep rolling.
Okay, absolutely.
Be right back.
In the headlines today, there is, I've heard from some sources that the public service strike may not be entirely over. It seems that some of the employees are not necessarily enthralled with the salary portion of the deal, and not necessarily that they'll go on pickets again, but we don't know yet, but that the vote on the package may potentially not go as smoothly as some people expected. So that's just a word on the tweet, aired out of the ground. So there may be more developments. So we'll hear about that soon. Over the course of the weekend, there was a public visitation for Gordon Lightfoot to St. Paul's United Church in the town of Orillia, which is his hometown. And when they had the final ceremony, the bells at the church rang 30 times, 29 times for the crew of the Edmund Fitzgerald, who Lightfoot immortalized in song, and one more time for him.
I saw political.
Thank you, sir. May you have a good voyage when you sail.
Saw a political cartoon the other day online. I don't know who did it or where it was from. I just caught a glimpse of it, and I forgot to grab a screenshot of it. But it was Gordon Lightfoot at the gates of St. Peter, and St. Peter says, "Oh, don't worry, Gord. You can watch the Leafs game here, and you can even enjoy it with Foster Hewitt. Oh, by the way, there's 29 sailors here who desperately want to say thank you." I was like, ooh, all the frissons right there for that one.
Ooh, I love that. We have some interesting comments for the kits here. Got Kit Sassy going, telling a woman which side she should walk means one should shutteth the up. I would agree. If Kit Elaine going, and meanwhile, PP was in Newfoundland sniffing wood.
Yes.
Yeah, and not making a particularly good impression from what I hear as well while he was there, talking about guns and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I don't know, just doesn't seem to me that
so
that's the vibe you go into Newfoundland with.
You know how you'll get folks occasionally will tell us how Justin Trudeau is an embarrassment to this nation and he's hated the world over and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, prove it. And then somebody says, well, check this out.
Have a look. Yeah, it is. It's Justin Trudeau, guys. Hey. Hey. There you go, guys. Everyone from Canada. Justin Trudeau. Hey.
Great to see you guys. You're enjoying the day?
What about that? Hey! Oh, that's right. See him go in. Going into the Canadian High Commission. Wow. There you go. We saw someone.
There you go.
Just a human, personable moment.
Right.
A very human, personal moment. You know, like I saw that and I thought, that is cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Let's see. More comments from the kits there. Sazi, I guess my guess is Pierre hasn't recovered from the total embarrassment of Biden handing Pierre his butt. So yeah, just a whole bunch of stuff like, well, yeah. Yep. Agreed. All the comments here are just great. You kids are back on. You know what time it is. So yeah. So while the Prime Minister and Sophie and the Canadian delegation who are representing us at the coronation, well, yeah, Pierre was traveling to Newfoundland. I'm sure we're paying for that travel somehow.
Of course we are. Well, we saw that he spent $500,000 more.
Yeah.
On his operational budget than the Prime Minister.
Yeah,
did.
and
how much more on travel or something?
and people
like that?
seem to be really upset by that because, again, our friend Thunder Bay Ed, who had put that thing on first, who drew our attention to the actual report, then decided to meme some of it. If you would, Mr. Grizzly, put it up. And
Sure.
this thing in particular has been very popular from what I can tell. 21,300 views.
It's definitely growing.
So this one in particular seems to be resonating. PP being hypocritical on positions and policy or whatnot doesn't sometimes seem to be resonating. But yeah, when the when the Pierre Poliver spends $472,000 plus more in 3 months than the Prime Minister does on salaries, travel, hospitality, and contracts. Yeah. There, and I believe that, Mr. Grizzly, if I'm not mistaken, that $472,216.66.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. It's amazing how things always add up to that. That amount, I believe, if you pump it into the economy, that's inflationary? Would it?
I thought it was just inflation.
But look who's contributing to it.
Oh.
He said he has a problem with just inflation, but he spends like a drunken sailor on shore.
Somebody else does it. Yeah, it's not a problem when he does it. It's only a problem when you do.
Interesting, Pierre. Interesting.
A comment here from our buddy Lachlan. I don't know if you saw this. It was from little bit ago. I'll just post this on the screen right here. I'll let you just absorb that for a minute, and then I'll read it. Lachlan Cross, at Lachlan Cross on Twitter.
Lachlan?
I don't want to be a dick, but if the hashtag Leafs don't win a game in the second round, did they technically make the second round?
Lachlan, my friend. I love you. And because I love you, I will tell you that those who decide to gleefully stir the pot must not be surprised when some of the pot's contents wind up on their fingers.
Oh, dude, my response to that was, that is a great question.
But it is looking like we might have to break out the rake soon for some spring falling leaves.
Yeah.
Call Billy Talent.
You're in the season for the leaves to be falling. Oh, right. It's spring. That's what the Leafs do. Fall every spring for the last 56 years.
Oh, man.
I know that upsets a lot of people. And I'm taking a slight delightful glee in it. Look, they made the second round, which was the first time in 19 years. I think that was a huge victory to a lot of fans.
Yep.
But now they're just like completely dejected. And I think, they're down 3-0. I think the season's done. I honestly, I don't think they just can't seem to score enough goals. And Florida's netminder is he's standing on his head.
Well, that song is prophetic, eh? In a crooked little town, they were lost and never found. Fallen leaves, fallen leaves, fallen leaves on the ground.
Thanks to Chester Bennington and the boys.
We should, but you're right. The first round is first round. That's that monkey off the back, and you got to learn to walk before you can run.
Well, and
crawl before you can
Toronto
walk.
was. Well, the Leafs were worried about having to play Boston in the second round when they didn't even consider that. Look, it's the playoffs, man. What happened last season is last season. The playoffs is a whole new season. All you got to do is get on a roll. As my buddy said, he goes, nobody saw Montreal go into the final a couple of years ago. They squeaked into the playoffs. Once you're in, that's it.
Nope.
Yeah, Chester Bennington, the lead singer for Linkin Park, though.
Yeah.
Saucy.
Yeah. But on the other side of the nation, the Oilers tied their series up with the Golden Knights after a beautiful 5-1 victory in which they scored 4 goals in the opening period. Yeah. And that's after on the first match. So I guess the first match there was the Edmonton Oilers also scored 4. Oh, sorry, no. Leon Draisaitl scored 4 goals.
Leon Draisaitl, yeah. one guy did.
It's like, so I guess the rest of the team decided to show up to play with him.
Yeah, for a change.
Again, but it's almost, it was like a repeat of that World Cup final with that French guy, Mbappe. I can't remember his name now, but he scored like 3 goals. It was like him against the whole other team. It's like, how do you score 3 goals? 3 goals and not like win a match. So it's like Draisaitl's like, how do you score 4 goals in one match and still not win? Well, he added 2 more yesterday.
Well, yeah.
He added 2 more yesterday. That line, Draisaitl, McDavid, Bouchard. Holy crap!
Oh, sorry, Saucy. You're right. That is Billy Talent, not Linkin Park. My goodness, I was mixing them up. I am so sorry about that. I just see how tired I am. I'm mixing up my musical genres. This is how tired I am right now. Sorry about that.
So
it was Billy
Draisaitl guy has basically gotten 6 goals in the last 2 games.
Yeah, that's a pretty good playoff run.
Jeez.
And he's from Germany too, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
he's
German. That's just
Germany's starting to produce some pretty good hockey players because, I mean, look at Draisaitl, but we've also got Tim Stützle here in Ottawa, who's really, so way to go, Germany, getting on the hockey bandwagon, starting to become, I wouldn't say world beaters, but definitely with the talent that they're producing now, that gives every German hockey player somebody to look up to.
Well,
right?
They've surprised Team Canada once or twice at juniors and at the World every now and like if you're not paying attention.
They will come in. Yeah, so you watch and see. Germany will be a contender in a couple of years for the Olympic hockey finals, along with the World Cup of hockey, which happens every spring, right? Usually when the best players are still in the playoffs, and yet Team Canada, which cobbles together a team from people from players who didn't
3
make
weeks
the playoffs
before it starts or something,
and have won it more than anyone.
Imagine if we actually had like a team like practicing a full year,
a dedicated Team Canada full time. Yeah.
Jeez. Well, since we're talking sports, right? Let's talk about a couple of other Canadians that have done us proud. We have Corey Connors, the golfer, who finished 8th at the PGA Tour Wells Fargo Championship. So congratulations to him. He's having a pretty good season this year, actually. Tennis player Stacey Fung won the ITF event in Tbilisi, Georgia. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce that, but
Tbilisi, I know what you mean.
In Georgia, the country, not the state. And with the win, she climbs to 246th in the world. So start paying attention to the name Stacey Fung, because you might start seeing her on your TV screens relatively soon.
Stacey Fung has got it going on.
That was a bit of a stretch, but okay.
Stacey's mom has got it going on. Stacey Fung,
and Leila Annie Fernandez, our national Leila, made it to the semifinal of the tour stop in Madrid in doubles with her partner Taylor Townsend of the United States. This is a new partnership, and already they are. I mean, they're not ranked overall, but if you were just counting this year, since the beginning of the season, they are the number 7 doubles team in the world. So they are
Oh, wow.
climbing fast. And Denis Shapovalov and Felix Auger-Aliassime had a terrible tournament in singles, but they played again in doubles only for the second time this year. And not very much since they started their pro careers, because in juniors they were playing doubles all the time. And they got to the quarterfinal there. They took out the number 2 seed team along the way. And right now they are ranked. Well, Fernandez now when you rank the doubles, they rank the team, but they also rank the players because they sometimes don't always play with the same partner. So she's now the number 36th doubles player in the world, and Denis Shapovalov is now the number 45th doubles player in the world, just from playing alongside Felix. There you go. And the last couple of
Cool.
years, he was playing with Rohan Bopana for a few years, who's um, a veteran of doubles from India, a legend. So we worked with him a bit, and now he's playing with Felix again, and they're having some pretty good success, beating some top teams that are very established. So I hope those partnerships continue. And really, really good news, because I love my curling, and it's a good season for Canadian colors. The men's team won silver at the Worlds. The women's team won bronze at the Worlds. Mixed doubles, which was Jennifer Jones and her husband Brett Lang, finished 4th at the Worlds. But we had the World Seniors. And also we had the wheelchair curlers earlier in the year, who also got some medals from the Worlds. I believe they got silver. And then we have our senior curlers, men's and women's team, and both of them, Mr. Grizzly, both teams came back from, I believe, the World Championships. I believe they were in South Korea, and both of them, Mr. Grizzly, if you will show the asset, came back with gold, double gold at the World
Cool.
Senior Curlings. So Anita Silvernagel, Brenda Gortson, Patty Hersicorn, Sherry Anderson, who's a legend in Canadian curling, and Phil Daniel, Paul Madden, Chris Fulton, Richard Moffat, and Howard Rajala. So there you go. And then and then the national senior coach of court, Bill Chishart, was there as
Right.
well. So yeah, double gold. Team Howard Rajala of Ottawa captured its first world championship, downing Scotland's Team Graham Connell 7-2 in the final, while Team Sherry Anderson of Saskatoon made history as the first 3-time winners of World Seniors, earning gold with an 8-4 triumph over Team Jackie Lockhart of Scotland. So both finals were Canada versus Scotland, and both Canada won. Yes. That's how you do it. There you go. So some Canadians who make us proud. We love that. We love that. That's the stuff that brings joy and happiness all around. All right. More headline news for you kits. It's around the world, but in Turkey, voters will be going to the polls next week, or Turkey, I should say. Voters will be going to the polls next week. Now, this is an election that was speeded up by Erdogan. It was supposed to be held later in the year, but and he thought he should go now. Usually when people go early, it's because they're riding high in the polls and they want to strike while the iron is hot. He seems to be sinking in the polls, and I think he wants to try and get the election done before he loses too much support. It seems more like a situation like that. Now, he has used claims of secret conspiracies and stuff like that to gradually consolidate power over time. I believe they elect people for 10-year terms in Turkey. Over the time, he's stacked the courts with allies. He's crushed independent media. He's jailed tens of thousands of his opponents. And Erdogan became popular at first because it was his economic reforms that seemed to have made Turkey almost like a global power, sort of like Brazil was for a while. They were doing very well. They were some of the most prized emerging markets. And then things started to turn for some reason. And he started instituting more and more of his policies, which turned out to be bad policies, and they basically brought the economy to the brink of collapse, especially during this raging inflation. I believe several months ago we were talking about 60 or 70% inflation in Turkey. And I don't know what the situation is now. But considering that we never got past 8.1 here in Canada, 60, 70, that's a lot, especially for a NATO nation and an EU. Is Turkey part of EU? I'm not sure.
I
I think
they
so.
are, but don't quote me on that.
I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up. Now, apparently, some of the reasons that people are not liking him are things such as his wife. Apparently, there are pictures of his wife drinking dragon fruit smoothies, while the average person can't buy onions and tomatoes at the market. It seems that he is like many. Erdogan has a problem with the Kurds, of course, which is one of the reasons he's holding up Sweden's membership in NATO, because he feels that the government of Sweden, which is now more right-leaning since they had its election, is not doing enough to stop Kurds and Kurdish organizations in Sweden from saying bad things about Erdogan. So he's holding up that. So apparently his rhetoric against the Kurds and his rhetoric, of course, against LGBT groups, because they're all doing it. All the uncool kids are doing it. So Erdogan decided he needed to get himself a slice of that too. Well, apparently that's alienating millions of younger voters who have known nothing other than his rule. Pretty much anybody in Turkey who's 25 years of age and younger probably doesn't know a life without Erdogan.
No kidding. I'm just looking here about their membership in the EU. So in December of 97, Luxembourg declared Turkey eligible to become a member. December of 99, Helsinki European Council declares Turkey a candidate country. 2001, Council adopts Ascension Partnership for Turkey, and it went on and on and on. And then the July of 2017, November of 2016, members of European Parliament vote overwhelmingly to suspend negotiations with Turkey over human rights violation and rule of law concerns. July 2017, Parliament called for suspension of accession negotiations with Turkey. And February 2019, EU Parliament committee votes to suspend accession talks with Turkey. So they've been applying for a long time, and I guess it takes a long time to become a member, but they're still on hold, basically, and it has to do with the human rights violations with Erdogan. Is what
that would make sense. That would make sense. So that's what's going on in Turkey. So keep your ears peeled because they are a critical partner. I think they have the second largest military in Europe, which is why they're a pretty important NATO partner. So if things start to going downhill there, that's not good for us. Let's put it that way. About the public service strike, there's certain things that I had caught up on that were kind of interesting. They had Mona Fortier on Primetime Politics on CPAC the other day. And I have to say, because earlier on I was sort of saying, I don't know if she's making the right moves here, because she was throwing in some little digs when they were talking about the negotiations. And I had noticed that there was a change in tone at one point. And you could really tell in this interview that she did with the people from Primetime Politics afterwards that there was a change in tone from her, which was frankly needed. It was needed. So she was talking about the deal, and it seems that there were about 570 demands at the beginning. So they were having talks, and they broke off in January and February. Who's responsible for that? Both of them, say the other one is. And then they hammered the rest of out in April, because they did decide to go into mediation in January, February of this year. So it was the responsible thing to do at the time, was to go in mediation and not elevate. Some of the changes that were made in the deal that are interesting from Mona Fortes, who is the president of the Treasury Board. Her position is that the deal is now for 4 years rather than 3, which adds stability. But one of the changes that didn't get much press was the way that the wage increases were spread out. Originally, there was planned a 1.5% increase this year, 4.5 next year, and 3 the following year to get to 9. And it seems that they moved it to a 333, which helps people deal with stuff now a little better. And then when you add the wage top up, which I'm going to issue myself a gentle correction, because I thought on the previous show that they could go up to 5,000. The maximum is 2,500, but we're talking about employees who mostly get paid between 40 and 60,000. So 2,500 on a $50,000 salary is 5% of your salary, and also that bonus is pensionable, and so you can count that money in. It counts towards your pensionable benefits in the future as well.
Right.
With regard, and the thing with structuring the deal 333 is that if the Bank of Canada does manage to get inflation closer to 2, right? Because I think we're at 3.8. So if we get to 3 by the end of this year, that means next year wages for public service will be increasing a little bit faster than inflation, and they'll start being able to make up what they've lost over the last little bit. And that's what's going on with the overall jobs numbers as well, right? When we talked about them the other day, inflation is going up at 3.8, but wages are still increasing at 5.2. So people are now in the phase where if they're still getting wage increases, they're starting to catch up on what they've lost through inflation over the last 2 or 3 years. Now, they might not catch up all the way, but at least you're starting to close some of the margin. And with regard to telework, which was the big sticking point because it isn't part of the collective agreement, well, it still is not part of the collective agreement. The federal government made sure that they kept sole authority on that. But for the federal government, their perspective is that telework is not only working from home, but working anywhere, like a remote office, or if you're on the plane or on the train going somewhere. So there is a policy for that, and it's broader. But that policy, or directive, I should say, hasn't been updated since 1993. So it seems that the union and the federal government have agreed that they will work together to update it to reflect the post-pandemic era and reflect up to 3 days a week, but allowing basically union managers and managers of the departments together to tailor that to the type of culture in each department. And then, having a mechanism for a union representative and a manager together to solve any hiccups that might arise as they're putting this into place. I was really impressed. I have to say, I was impressed with her because when they asked her if this was a win for the government, because they didn't allow the work from home provisions to become enshrined, she actually stated that it was a win not only for the government, but also for the public service and for the nation. So instead of spiking the ball, she shared credit, which is a very, very interesting change, because she was basically saying, at one point, oh, if you're going to up your strike action, then I just want to make sure that what you're doing is not illegal. So from that to this deal was a victory for the government and public servants and the nation. That is a very big switch. Very, very, very big switch. And
Lost you.
sorry, the sound popped out again. Hopefully, Mr. Grizzly, I will have a clip of that for you very soon because I'm looking for it for you.
Put this one up.
Yeah, I don't have it right now, though I haven't lined it
Okay.
up.
Sorry.
It was, for some reason, I was having trouble finding the show there. But that's what's going on. So later on, before we end the show, I will play a couple of clips from her interview, because that was particularly an impressive moment from her. And like I said, the thing isn't completely settled yet, it seems. So just,
Well, we're
you never know.
looking at for those just tuning in, we'll have a podcast on Saturday. And are we doing anything with Nate on Sunday?
I don't know. I'm guessing probably not this week, because I have to get back on Sunday.
Right.
Which might not, so we might delay that one, have a one extra week.
Okay. Well,
Do
if
it
that's
the
what
following
happens,
week.
that what happens. But we'll have him back for sure.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And we'll try to get the guys, the boys from Alberta Stand live as well, because we tried to have them last week, and the schedules just didn't work out.
So there's this thing happening here in Ottawa. It's hoping to encourage green bean usage. Let me try that again. Green bean
usage.
Green bin usage. It, a little dyslexic. I just mix the letters up sometimes. So city staff proposed a bag tag system to discourage curbside garbage. So I'm going to post this asset here on the screen. How the city's proposed bag tag system will work. If you are a juvenile male, you may have participated in a game, with your hockey team, and it was called bag tag, and the idea was to flick somebody in the scrotal area with your towel. So when I read that headline, I became 12 years old and just started chuckling, because I'm like, really? Bag tag? Really? And I know I'm not the only one who thought that. There's no way I'm the only one who thought that. There's definitely someone, read that and went, oh, yeah. And we used to play that game, just flick each other in the locker room. And you never said you're it. You just snap a bag tag. I know. 12 years old.
You're it. Oh, man. That's bad.
It's terrible. It was fun.
Oh, shit. Oh, man. Let's see. Okay, wildfires. There are over 100 of them burning in Alberta at the moment. The latest update I heard from Christy Tucker, who's from Alberta Wildfire, and this was from this morning's news. Quote, at the moment, there are 108 wildfires burning in Alberta. 31 of those are out of control. And in the last 24 hours, we noted 16 new wildfire starts. The total area of the province burned this year has now passed 375,000 hectares, which I believe is already more than the total burn in the 2017 and 2018 seasons individually. And it's only May 8th. And for those who did not know, and I did because I had to look it up, a hectare is equal to 100 meters by 100 meters and is about 2.5 times the size of an average football field. So 375,000 times that.
That's very large. Very, very large.
Yes. And yep, Kit Tim. Apparently Trudeau is burning the oil fields just to spite Alberta. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
we'll somebody's going to come up with that. Somebody is going to come up.
It's already started, and you'll be very, very, very sad and disappointed and shaking your head. So throughout the whole thing, I've heard different numbers, but at the most, I've heard 93,000 people were forced from homes. At the most, there's about 30,000 that are probably still evacuated, mostly from west central and northern Alberta. Temperatures have been 10 to 15 degrees above seasonal averages, and when you add that to gusty winds and a very dry spring, well, fire. Over 200 firefighters have arrived from BC, Ontario, and Quebec to provide additional support. And Danielle Smith has declared a provincial state of emergency. I don't know if she did that before or going to a fundraiser or after. But she decided that she still had. But first, let's make myself some money. And then she decided to say, oh, well, yes, I guess this thing is very, 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 very dangerous, which is really interesting because she lives in the High River area And we reported on Friday that High River, once again, as it is known to do, has shown hospitality by taking in about 1,000 people. So it's like happening where she lives. And still she thought, but first, a fundraiser. Girl's got her priorities. That's all I'll say. And an incident management team from BC has also arrived to take over incident management in the Northern Rocky Mountain House area. In the community of Fox Lake, several homes, the RCMP detachment there, and a grocery store have already burned down, and that was really early on in all of this. Christy Tucker says that that the ground is very dry and basically vegetation is ready to go. So that's kind of a problem. The province's Emergency Management Committee has also been called upon, and more than 1,000 people have registered at Edmonton's reception center. It was visited by both Daniel Smith and Rachel Notley yesterday, I believe. Cooler temperatures are expected to move in. There's been a little bit of rain that has helped and to add a little moisture and humidity, but they don't think that it is going to be enough because warmer temperatures are still expected later in the week, and there's concern that there are still some hot spots and that those will be reignited. The fires have spread into Saskatchewan, where there were 15 active fires over the weekend, with 3 labeled out of control, but now appear to be contained. But there were evacuation orders for the town of La Loche and several First Nations in the area. As of yesterday, I think at some point or 2 days ago, it was saying that there were 85 wildfires reported so far in Alberta, and the 5-year average for this time of year is 45.
Wow.
So 40 more than an average year as of a few days ago already.
That's big.
I don't know, man. That's
Yeah.
and then BC, well, there's floods. So roads are washed out in Cache Creek, which is a village west of Kamloops, and in the Grand Forks area, there was an evacuation order on the weekend covering 40 properties and hundreds more on alert due to, again, also high temperatures and fast melting snowpack. So we are sending our love again to our fellow citizens that are going through some tough times. Please take care of yourself. Remember, for material things, as sentimental as they may be, they are only things and can be replaced. Lives are more important.
Much
First,
more important.
take care of yourselves and your loved ones. And then if there's time for things, but make sure you and those you love get out first. All right? We care about you. I have to say, touch wood, I have lived a whole life being fortunate enough to not know what this is like. I mean, we had the ice storm, but I was fortunate enough to be in a neighborhood that didn't get, I mean, I'm not going to say it wasn't affected. There was a lady, a homeless person that was found in a snowbank close to where we lived.
I remember that.
Who had passed away. But we didn't lose electricity where we were, and we didn't lose, and so, I mean, we saw it going on with other people, and we were horrified. But there were places in the province of Quebec that didn't have electricity for 3 months after.
Yeah, and I was living just north of the market then on St. Patrick Street, and we weren't affected by it.
Yeah, we were on Wurtemberg at the time, at the end of Rito, and just no. So, I don't know what it's like to have a tornado come into my life and upend anything, or an earthquake, or a flood, or so it's almost like I don't know how it feels, but I know it feels bad. And I just can't imagine the devastation and the fear and the concern and the worry. So from over here, clearly, as always, it's cold comfort, and it's, for the moment, it's the least we can do. Hopefully there'll be opportunities for us to have an initiative where we can help donate and help help our fellow citizens. But for the moment, right now, it's crisis, and it's all hands on deck. So we are sending good vibes for everybody to do what they need to do professionally, and hope that this is over as soon as possible.
Indeed.
Right.
In let's lighten the darkness
Yes, please.
right now, if we could. The Ottawa Tulip Festival starts this weekend.
Ah, yes.
The international. Sorry, let me rephrase that. The Canadian Tulip Legacy. The festival begins this coming Friday. Tulip Fest. There's areas around Dow's Lake and downtown in the core along the canal where you can view. I'll just throw up a couple of assets here quickly. Post. Not throwing anything up. Sorry. Dow's Lake area where they have a planned map where you can go and check out all the tulips and in that area. And then if we move along over here, here's the downtown core. And why does this not want to blow up for me? Anyway, that's May 12th to the 22nd, 10 days. And you've got all these areas marked here where you can go and check out if you happen to make it to Ottawa. And it's a beautiful time of the year in the city. If you want to come down this weekend, you can. Hey, you know what? What a great weekend for you to come to Ottawa. And there's a Canadian Tulip.
It's always a wonderful time.
Oh
it's
yeah,
it's the 2 times. It's one of the 2 times of the year where the city is the most beautiful. Tulips and fall colors.
Yeah, and it's not how stinking hot it gets here in July.
Yeah.
And it gets stinking hot. So if you want to come to the capital and check out the Tulip Fest, this is a great weekend to do it. And we'll be doing a live pubcast on Saturday. So, if you make it to Ottawa for the Tulip Fest, pop in and say hello. And we do have Jazz Fest coming up very soon. So we're trying to coordinate that because June 30th is a Friday. The Ottawa Red Blacks will be hosting the Edmonton Elks at Lansdowne Park for the kickoff to the CFL season home game stand. It's Canada Day the following day, July 1st, which makes Monday the holiday. So it's a long weekend. I mean,
and Herbie Hancock the night before.
That's right. There's a lot going on that weekend. Late June, early July in this city. You know what else is taking place during that time frame?
Tell me.
Rib Fest on Spark Street.
On Spark Street?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Rib Fest.
The smell of barbecued ribs wafting through. Now, if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, avoid the downtown core for a couple of days. That's all you're going to smell.
Wait for Poutine Fest.
Yeah, that comes along a couple of weeks later, if memory serves.
Yeah. Poutine Fest.
Well, I go to Poutine Fest, but I don't eat it. I don't eat the stuff. I just go because there's beer and live music. So.
Oh, I go to the green papaya truck where they do a Thai poutine,
and I'm told it's lovely.
It's amazing, and it's the only time you can get it. They don't have it in a restaurant. They should just put it there. It's so good. All right, Mr. Grizzly, I do have one of those 2 clips from Morna Forte for us right there. So I will turn up the volume here and then put up the asset for you. So this is the one I was talking about where she talked about it being a win for everyone.
Okay.
Madame Forte, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, we've been mulling over the deal ever since it was announced, and we're looking at these wage increases. We've seen from the government perspective, the ability to keep telework out of the collective agreement, the tentative agreement as such. Mm-hmm. So when you look at it, is this a win for the government?
I think it's a win for Canadians. I think it's a win for public servants. And I believe that we found the right balance to a fair, competitive and reasonable deal. And I'm glad actually that we announced that we have a 4-year deal, which gives really some stability for the public service. And also we have a line of sight on what's next.
Well,
Okay. Now how's that for change in tone? Mm-hmm. From I need to make sure that they're not doing anything illegal.
Just a side note, Poutine Fest already took place. It was April 27th to the 30th at Poutine Plaza, Ottawa City Hall. It was cold and miserable that weekend, so the attendance was probably very low. I didn't even know. Usually it happens later in the year.
Yeah.
I think they have
sometimes they have 2.
Yeah, there's usually 2, sometimes 3. There's Indo Fest that is also in July, I believe, June or July. I'm trying to remember. There's a lot of festivals that go on in the summertime here. Yep. And I love Indo Fest because you can go and see live music and live Bhangra and Bhangra dancers, but also the Indian food trucks. Oh my God, there's so much good food. It's a good time. It's a good time.
And this is the other clip, Mr. Grizzly, I wanted to show you because they were talking about whether or not the deals would create precedents.
Right.
So if you would.
Mm-hmm.
Have you set perhaps a difficult precedent for private industry? Because if that is what such a large public sector employer is giving to their employees, have you not essentially painted private companies into providing the same for their employees?
No, I would challenge the fact that actually we looked at what's happening in the private sector, look at what's happening in other provinces, and we are, really looking at an average of what the private sector for many companies are doing, and also the public sector in other provinces and even municipalities. Now, we know that many frontline workers will work in, the workplace, and we have to respect that. I think that we have an opportunity to look at the best of both worlds. What can be done working either from home or for remote work, or again, what can be done in the office. And there are those benefits that will, at the end of the day, make sure that we offer the best services to Canadians. And I think that's the balance that we're trying to find.
Okay, I have less than a minute, but I do.
There you go. Again, another very statesman-like conciliatory answer. As PC in Bio says, what happened to all the tough talk? Yeah. Well, when you realize that the tough talk is probably not the avenue that's going to get you the result that you want,
Yeah, no kidding.
But
Pivot.
here's the thing, is there is a capacity to pivot, unlike certain politicians.
Yes. I have a clip for you here. I don't know if you saw this on the weekend. This is Daniel Smith. And when is this clip from? Hang on a second. This is from, I think this is 2021.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep. Go ahead. That was my next clip. So go ahead. We're done with this subject. So let's move on.
Here we go. Daniel Smith in 2021.
I noticed you're not wearing a poppy. I'm not wearing a poppy, but they ruined it for me this year. The political leaders standing on their soapbox, pretending that they care about all the things that you just talked about, pretending they understand the sacrifice, and not understanding that their actions are exactly the actions that our brave men and women in uniform are fighting against. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch the Netflix series, How to Become a Tyrant, but it starts with Hitler in the first episode, and it's absolutely appalling and shocking.
Yeah.
How, and it's one academic says, I know so many people would say, and they must have filmed this before COVID, so many people say that they would not have succumbed to the charms of a tyrant, somebody telling them that they have all the answers. And he said, I guarantee you would. And that's the test here, is we've seen it. We have 75% of the public who say, not only hit me, but hit me harder, and keep me away from those dirty unvaxxed. And even on the cover of the Toronto Star, saying, I want people who are unvaxxed to get sick and die, and I don't even care. I don't want them to get treatment. We're already hearing about people being denied treatment for not being vaccinated, being taken off the organ donor list. What are we becoming? What are we becoming?
Vile. That's vile and diabolical. Sorry.
It is diabolical.
Okay, she's leaving out a few key things there. All right,
She's leaving out a lot of things.
Well, of course, because she picks and chooses things. But
here's again, right? Evil, diabolical.
Mm-hmm. Well,
75% of the nation.
Yes. Well,
these are the people who want your vote. They're calling 75% of the nation evil and diabolical. They want your vote. Don't vote for us.
And she's going on about they've changed the rules. You can't donate your organs if you've not been vaccinated. That's always been the rule.
Yep.
This is not new with COVID. It's always been, if you're not up to date on your vaccinations.
If you don't want to stop smoking, you don't get a new lung. If you don't want to stop drinking, you don't get a new liver.
Always been that way.
This is not a controversial thing.
It's not new. It's been around forever. Here's another clip from that same chat. And it's, I don't know who put these clips together, but it's the look on Danielle's face before I hit play.
Disorder and YYC.
It should be all about early treatment. And so that's
talking
what
healthcare here is what she's talking about, and how to prevent Anyway,
I started this GoFundMe lawsuit about. We ended up raising $100,000 very quickly. The challenge has been, the issue is the colleges. And the college is the one that I believe is operating outside their mandate. They are mandated through legislation to give doctors wide latitude to use their expert judgment to treat their patients, as long as they have considered the potential for drug interactions. They're not overdosing. They're not giving them something that's inappropriate, or there's obviously you want to make sure there's no obvious sign of malpractice. But other than that, they're supposed to be able to be given a wide berth in trying what they think is going to work. And I believe that the colleges
Yeah.
have,
I think that's what they call the practice of medicine.
isn't it? Definitely. So
Yeah.
just because something is not accepted by the mainstream, we don't do science by vote, right? We do science by experimentation, observation. If something works, we do more of it. If it doesn't work, we try something else. That's the scientific process, the scientific method. The problem, and I hope we never do this again, the problem with putting doctors in charge is they seem to be hardwired against criticism. They seem to have a medical profession that is almost like a military command structure, that the person at the top cannot be argued with, cannot be contradicted. Otherwise, it's some crime that's worthy of punishment. And if that's the way the medical profession operates, then I don't think we can have them in charge again in a future pandemic. It's got to be something more like a military chain of command, actually. A military chain of command, yeah, there's a top guy, but they give a lot of latitude to people in the field to make their own judgment, because you have to. You can't micromanage every decision from the top when you're in a combat theater. And so I think that I think our military is actually better trained to understand the balance between chain of command and frontline decision making. They're certainly better trained in understanding our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and that there are limits to what you can do to people.
Okay, first of all, just seeing the kids here, science doesn't need to argue, you soup can. Bill Nye
Yes.
would have a stroke right about now. It's looked like she's afraid of a disease she doesn't think exists. If she wasn't, wouldn't she be the same as that guy? Okay. First of all, these two clips. One, she won't wear a poppy.
Yeah.
They've ruined it. Okay. Number one, if anybody that anybody else does ruins wearing a poppy for you, you are a freaking snowflake and you have no mind of your own and no backbone of your own and no values of your own, because
It was just
I'm sorry,
performative.
but there is nothing that anybody could do or say that would make me not want to wear a poppy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. I really respected our veterans, but you said this thing that hurt my fifis that I found disgusting, so I can't wear a poppy anymore. It's like, you said something that hurt my feelings, so I can no longer do the right thing. No, you do the right thing anyway. Okay, Danielle, first of all, number one. 75% of the people say, hit me harder. We don't think the vaccine. No. 75% of the people didn't say, we think that the unvaccinated shouldn't get healthcare treatment.
No,
Some
that's
stupid
not
idiots said that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it got promoted to the front page because today in 2023, 2022, 2021, 2020, say it's the idiot that's willing to rush to the mic to say the most outrageous and stupid thing that gets all the attention, isn't it, Danielle?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You'd think you would be like really, really clear on this principle, given that you're pretty much wackadoodle adjacent or abutting. Okay.
It's funny because it's true.
It's not like you live across the town. You live like a kitty corner. Okay. And then I would never do this again. Put doctors in charge because they come from a culture of people who cannot be contradicted with. And if you do, then they are worthy of punishment, like having their doctor privileges. You're talking about yourself. You're talking about yourself, girlfriend. I want to do this. Oh no, I can't do that. Okay, well, watch me change the laws and like take back Alberta to cancel you and watch me unleash my whole machine. And while I'm asking, what if?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
it's
am
just
sorry,
more
but this woman,
absurdity.
like, and then, doctors used to have, they still do have leeway. They
Mhm.
still do have to do all those things that you said, make sure that they're not overdosing and whatnot. That is the medical profession. It's like, but what you are talking about is, oh, well, somebody said, hey, why don't we try ivermectin? Okay, so let's start administering it to people before we do the double-blind random clinical trials and all this to make sure that there's no overdosing and whatnot.
Yeah, then they'll come
Hey,
back. Well,
I got an idea. Let's
they came
lose.
up with
Let's.
COVID vax so
I mean,
fast,
this is.
super quick. It was not tested. They've been working on it since SARS in 2003.
Let's say, gee, I could like see Danielle Smith like one day. It's like, what if we, I don't know, tried to solve cancer by giving people Flintstones chewable tablets? And I don't know if we tried to solve liver disease by cold compresses. And
Yeah.
let's just, hey, since we're spitballing here, it's like, hey, how about some contact C for PTSD? Let's try it. Let's just ask some questions.
Yeah,
let's just willy-nilly administer it because to somebody and say this will work. Well, how do you know it don't work? We haven't tried it yet. Shouldn't you be curious and want to experiment? No. When I'm going in for my triple bypass, I don't want you to experiment with vasectomies. Thank you.
No, that's probably a good time to not do that. Just saying.
Because, you know, while it will help control the pet population, it's not going to do anything for my heart. I just, what? This woman.
Yeah, it's always.
I think she's convinced that if she just keeps talking fast. But here's the thing, right? That's from 2021. Remember what we said Friday, right? Gee, I'm wondering if there's going to be a video like this every single day because she is the mouth that has never met a microphone that it could resist. And it seems that indeed that's the strategy, that somebody's going to be dropping a video, and it seems that it's oh darn, I just said his name and I can't remember. Disorder in YYC. Nate Pike has been like, I don't know who the Distorted YYC, but thank you for supplying all this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's that he or she is finding, or they are finding all the clips, all
of them.
So every single day there's one little one, drip, drip, drip.
Never ends. There's just an endless supply of data. You know,
I hope it sinks her. I hope it sinks her. She cannot win. She cannot win.
It's you know, look, let's look at the double-edged sword here. If she wins, she creates content for us for the next 4 years.
Yeah, but what does she do to our fellow Albertans?
Well, this is the thing. It's like, you know what? I'll be happy to give up the content when it comes to, you know, people having better lives.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, again, like, we'll appreciate the content, we know it, but there are 8 billion people on the planet. We can get our content from someone else.
Yes,
we would really love to get our content from somewhere else.
Exactly. I don't want any more of her content, to be quite honest, because it's just been so detrimental to so many people. And she wasn't, trying to explain to folks from outside the country how she ascended to that position. Like she wasn't elected. No, it was the party in power. The leader stepped down. They brought her in. She just assumed, oh, that can happen. Yes, that can happen. It's tough to explain our system sometimes because it's a little complex and complicated when it gets down to it, you know.
Mm-hmm. And it seems that she's having other issues. One, it seems that the arena deal is a bit of a problem.
Backtracking on that, eh?
Pardon?
She's already backtracking on that?
Well, not so much backtracking, but it seems that when you're putting the whole deal together, it seems that the deal previously that was rejected, they were only about $30 million apart. So it's raising the question of why it is that she's coming in with $300 million to cover a $30 million gap.
Wow.
And there are really interesting things, such as, for example, even though, for example, they have to pay a lease on the land that's being built upon. And it seems that they are only increasing the amount that they pay on the lease by 1% a year. But costs for that type of thing go up at a cost of about like 5% a year or something. So there's an advantage to the company there, and it seems that there's some things on the transfer of lands, that there are some deals for the people there. And it seems that, according to Nate Pike from the Breakdown in Alberta, the sort of overall business organization that's pushing that is the organization for which Danielle Smith was the president after her talk show career flopped the first time.
Mm.
So she's the president of an organization, and now that she's the premier, she's rushing in with $300 million to close a $30 million gap.
Filthy loser.
Yep. And very, very favorable lease rates and all those. And the mayor of Calgary, who was in that photo with Lanny McDonald and Danielle, is, well, Danielle's going, it's like, I came in here and I saved this, and the mayor is saying, well, actually, no, we've been working on this for the last 18 months. The mayor is, this is just sort of like overall sort of global terms, right? There's still a lot to work out with. This is far from a done deal. And Danielle was like, we're going to have it. Yay. So I don't know. That's not going very well for her. And it seems that as more and more tiny details come out, they're just realizing that what a sweet, super sweet deal it is. Because, like, as Nate said, right, you said they basically came up to them and said, like, hey, do you want to pay more? And they said no. And they said, okay, well, how about we pay more? And they said, okay, yeah, we're okay with you paying more, and we'd like a couple of extra things too. And then like these land leases and stuff. And yeah, sure. So we're finding out what those things are. The other problem that she seems to have is that nobody knows how her budget is actually is going to work. Office vacancy rates in Calgary were up 33% earlier this year, and were one of the highest office rate vacancy rates in Canada, which is one of the reasons why the business community has been looking for an investment in downtown, which may explain the sudden $330 million for the Flames. Because apparently Calgary's downtown has been dead since the bottom fell out of oil a few years ago.
Right.
Now, with the deal, so basically the taxpayer-funded portion goes way up, the private sector investment portion goes way down, and in the process, Danielle is promised to cut taxes for those making less than $60,000 a year and to continue the fuel tax suspension. So you've got lots of money going out, lots of money being promised, but the Alberta most recent budget assumed an oil price at $75 a barrel minimum to balance, and it was banking on about an $80 per barrel price. Well, the price of oil in Alberta has just dropped below $70.
Yeah, that's problematic.
Oopsies. They've already misbudgeted. Carrie Tate, the Calgary reporter for Globe and Mail, says it's a huge gamble because as much as Albertans don't like paying taxes, they also don't like deficits. So something like the tax cut or the new tax bracket is $1 billion out of the budget annually. Cutting fuel taxes for the rest of the year is a couple of $100 million. Then you add the arena stuff, right, which is planned. All of a sudden, the surplus is gone and you have oil prices plummeting. So there's a risk that they've already tossed out the really big price tags. And one of the things Albertans really like is stability, which is really ironic in a resource-based province in which the provincial government has decided that it would fund core services like health and education using health dollars rather than just general revenues before resource dollars. Sorry, I shouldn't say health dollars. I meant resource dollars earlier. You'd think that constitutionally, since a province was obligated to take care of health and education, that they would take that from their basic tax base and fund other things like arenas and pet projects with resource revenue. But not Alberta.
That would make sense. Right?
Not Alberta. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I were Rachel Notley right now, I would be talking about the economics of poor healthcare. How that, because both of them are seeming to are trying, like the NDP is trying to make an economic argument, and they're traditionally not known as strong in that area. The UCP is trying to make a healthcare argument, and they're not known as being traditionally strong. So they're playing on territories that are not theirs. But if you're an NDP or in Alberta and you're playing on the economic side of it, I would be talking about how it is impossible to have a thriving economy without a workforce that is both educated and healthy. And we are now living in a province in which doctors and nurses are grabbing their heels to their ears and fleeing as fast as possible. We are now in a province, one of the 2 provinces in Canada, that has the most open, unfilled family medicine residencies.
Mm-hmm.
There are like 400 people in Canada waiting for a spot that don't have one.
Yeah,
But they can't get one in the province outside of Quebec or Alberta. They do not want to go to Alberta. Alberta says, hey, come and do your residency here. We have spots, and people are going, no, thank you.
It's bad.
So I'm not sure. So if you have if you have a workforce that's not healthy, and you've driven the doctors and nurses away, and now they don't even want to come and do their family residency, and then you're going onto the international market and saying, hey, everybody, we have oil over here. Why don't you come and pump a few billion here, because we have the best work. Oh, no, we don't have the best. Well, our workers are healthy. Oh, no. Well, there's good doctors if you come and bring your family. Oh, well,
no. Yeah. Bad.
If I were the NDP, I would be making that economic argument. What falls apart in your economy when you start shortchanging health?
Mm-hmm.
A workforce that is not healthy enough to work. It does not attract foreign investment.
Yeah, that's bad.
A province without enough family doctors for the foreign investors who are coming in and bringing their families. They won't come.
Bad.
They won't come. I don't know if Danielle is trying to torch this. She's definitely not running a Doug Ford campaign. It's not like she's got people that have like hogtied her and stuffed her in the freezer.
No.
And put an apple in her mouth.
It's just absurd. I've got some more absurdity for you here. This time it's from Tennessee. I'm just going to show this clip. It was from March 28th of this year. I'll show this clip and then we'll talk about it after on the other side. Let's go.
It started out as Pride coming in, and I thought everything would be okay. I was totally fine with them having and doing what they wanted under the laws. And it ended with a rainbow room where 8 to 12-year-old kids were given butt plugs and dildos and trained. They just got a city grant for $650,000 to be able to do more training on the children. It was horrendous. I have asked my friends there what if it's getting any better. Every single one of them are leaving, and it is a very good tax base. These conservatives are good tax base people. It was absolutely horrible to watch. You think that you're doing things based on laws, but you are doing things and you are letting Satan in. He will not take an inch. I promise you. He will take everything and it will not stop.
Please.
It doesn't stop.
We need to pass the collection plate for this poor soul.
She's like,
She's so devastated. She can't stand the power of the glitter.
This will result in a rainbow room where 8 and 12-year-old kids are given butt plugs and dildos. Where do they come up with this shit? Like, that's a vivid imagination.
The 3 R's: reading, writing, and reaming.
I just don't even know what to say anymore.
We, the parents, of course, on the T-shirt, right? No. Yeah. No, boo-boo kitty. Sorry, no. I mean, where is this? Again, I keep on asking. If teachers truly were spending their personal discretional funds, because we know the school board ain't paying it. I mean, heck, they won't even buy paper and pens. Going to the local sex shop and buying dildos and butt plugs and bringing them for show and tell and feel, apparently, at kindergarten. You think we would have heard about it sometime previously this decade or the decade previous? or the decade before that, or the decade before that. Or any of the people as adults now who are talking about the priests and the teachers or whatnot who did terrible things to them when they were students. You think that the dildos and the butt plugs would have come up somewhere in those discussions? Maybe. All those court cases? Maybe.
Yeah.
I swear they think that life's an episode of South Park. It's like the teachers are there. It's like, come on, Timmy, you can solve 2+2. Hey, come on. Come on. Let's just play with this. If you don't 2+2, you get the dildo of consequences. Whoa, whoa. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Come on, Billy, relax. It's just arithmetic.
I got nothing.
What the? Just.
Yeah, they've been they're warped. I mean, warped. And they say things that they believe. Is the disturbing part. They actually believe this.
She is beside herself
in
fear. This is, again, how do you convince yourself that you are living in the freest country in the world, and yet you are fearful of everything and everyone?
It's not freedom. It's not freedom.
You live in the freest country of the world, but the government's coming to get you, and those drag queens are coming into your bathrooms, to assault your little. You ever notice that they're never worried about male to female? They're only worried about female to male. None of these people are worried about their daughters when they go to the bathrooms. They're only worried about their sons.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. I think it's the other way around. No, they're worried about their daughters. They're not worried about their sons.
It's just
the other way around.
It's all bizarre.
I'm just
all bizarre. I don't get it. Some days I just don't get it.
I don't. Again, excuse the language. These bitches are wearing out my weave. I don't. Parents, please. You have one job. One job only. Love your children unconditionally.
If only.
That woman, if she has a young child, and that child is gender fluid, and that child one day sees that, do you think that child is going to come to mom and say, Mom, I've been having some big feelings? You have one job. Love your children unconditionally for who they are. Not the dream you had for their lives. Not the person you hoped they'd become, but for who they are. It is really not that difficult. And parents, I am telling you, if you are not doing that, if you are not loving your children for who they are, you are sending them into the world ill-equipped. You're sending them into a world where they will be looking for that love and that affection and that belonging in the wrong places, in the wrong arms, and in the wrong way.
Yes, you're very right when it comes to that.
I am speaking from personal experience. Okay. Wrong way, and in ways that could last with you for the rest of your life. Love your children. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed, sir. I have,
all right, kids.
I have 2 quick clips to show you, and then we'll jump. This one from the other day, advertising pastors for Trump. Remember the word pastor, right?
I'm getting tired of that word.
Right? Pastors
I'm getting tired of that word. It's just being used willy-nilly. It has no meaning anymore.
Well, Daniel Smith wanted to protect pastors specifically. Is that code speak? And then I saw that, and then I grabbed this clip because I thought, let's end on a chuckle. So for those of you who are listening to the audio-only version, this particular asset in response to the Pastors for Trump asset, this one is Trump spent more time inside Stormy Daniels than he has inside a church.
Bet you he said, "Oh God," about the same number of times. Oh, ooh, spicy. Okay. Well, kids, yeah, indeed, Kit Lane. Oh my!
Gotta end on a chuckle.
That was a George Takei moment. Doesn't Sky Daddy protect them already? Oh, Mohan. Come sit next to me. Well, kids, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver podcast. We hope you lived. We hope you lived. Yes, but we also hope you loved listening to us because we lived making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So let your peeps know about us because sharing, because democracy is something that you do. I'm tripping all over my tongue.
It happens. It happens.
Please write to your MPs and everyone, as your old pal Jake said, right? There's that little board, and they mark said we got this letter, and 6 of you invite it to the send it to the same MP. They got a situation they need to deal with, so make sure they have some situations they need to deal with. They do work for you after all, so why not tell them what their job is? Yeah, they need reminders. If you really like this podcast, you can find us on the Crier Media Network, as well as all Beaver Grizzly platforms and Beaver Grizzly friendly platforms. Stars and reviews are appreciated. Please be generous, and we love to hear from you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We'd love to hear from you. So please reach us on our Facebook at True North Eager Beaver, or Twitter at TrueEager, or by email at truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. You can subscribe via Podpage, podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver. And when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, well, we'll come straight to you. And maybe not straight. Well, Grizzly will come straight to you. I'll take a little curved path in order to get to you. But I'll get there on case standard time, a couple of minutes after Mr. Grizzly, but I'll get there.
That was good. I didn't see that one coming.
Why not? Why not also? I can't walk, swim, or think straight, so don't worry, kids. Why not also subscribe to our True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube channel? That helps us out big time, and we've more than a quarter of the way. We've passed 250, so thank you, kids. We appreciate that. Quarter of the way to 1,000, but of course, we're not stopping there. Can't stop, won't stop. We can't do this without your kind and generous support. So if you feel that we've done a particularly good show, and if you're watching, well, you can scan that squiggly thing that I'm sure Mr. Grizzly will put right next to his head. And that's our QR code, which brings you to our emergency hot chocolate and Guinness fund. And if you happen to be listening, then you go to your computer and you enter coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase, one word, and that will bring you to our emergency fund so that you can make your donation to keep us happy, healthy, and hydrated. Very, very important. And maybe even moisturized, because it is summer and make sure that those wrinkles stay back. And finally, well, from the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying, until next time, dear kids, it can be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And if you have the opportunity, make some art. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom for us?
I'm going to save some of them for this evening.
Okay.
For the 9:30 p.m. ASMR show, if anybody wants to join in. I'm going to be talking about mental health and some things you can do to help improve yours when you're going through rough patches and things get dark. I will discuss some of the methods I use to help bring me out into the light and how sometimes I simply can't get there. It's a fairly revealing, honest program. I still keep some things to myself because there's some things that I'm going to need more therapy to learn how to deal with in an open forum. Not everything can be discussed openly just yet, but I'm working towards it. So if anybody wants to tune in, it's on my personal YouTube channel. What is my personal YouTube channel? I don't even know. How bad is that?
That's like when you're giving your own phone number because you never call yourself.
It's somewhere. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is.
Every now and then, I'm
It's-
giving my own phone number, and I say the first 3 digits. Oh no, wait a minute, that's Alex's phone number.
Oopsie.
Um,
Oopsie.
so, all right. So that's our words of wisdom. And Kits, I just wanted to say thank you. The comments in the chat and the discussion in the chat today has been particularly good. So thank you in particular to Kit Christian. Christian. I'm not sure if it's Christian in French or Christian. So your last name's French. I'm going to say Christian, and please correct me if I'm wrong. And Danielle and Saucy and Elaine. Thank you in particular for sharing some really interesting comments that really moved the conversation forward. So thanks. All right, Mr. Grizzly, please roll the credits.
I will do that once I find it.
Okay.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
We got this comment from P&C Bio that says, rainbows are the scariest things ever. Whenever I see a picture of a rainbow, I can't resist other men. I know that feeling, darling. I know that feeling.
Okie dokie.
Rainbows make me horny.
Well, that's different.
Someone played with me Lucky Charms. See you later.